Welcome, Marie in Zone 6 with a look in the garden in early May. Here in the East Garden, which is the front garden, some of my tulips are starting to wane, but other ones have just started to bloom. I planted my super petunias already. I have jazzberry planted in between these tulips because the tulips will eventually wane, and I've done that on both sides. And those jazzberries should get about 2 feet wide, I believe. And in my containers, I also planted jazzberry for repetition, diamond frost euphorbia, and there is a white verbena in those containers as well. And I continue that jazzberry theme back here to either side of the steps. I have jazzberry on both sides, and hopefully they will overflow the steps, creating a welcoming feel. Here's a peony, and this peony I believe is the white one with a mustard center. It's just gorgeous when it blooms. And there is the Sally Holmes climbing rose. Well, it can be a climber or a shrub, however you prune it. And it is poised to bloom. The limelights on either side of the front door, the one by the bay window and the one over by the entryway, have really flushed out with leaves. And these golden euonymus, some of them got sick a few years back, and I cut them down and they've come back. And so I decided to go ahead and see what happens with them. They're looking pretty good. Over here to the right, I planted Snowdrift Super Petunia, which should mound. That's an Annabelle behind. And then over here, over by the limelight, by the bay window, I have two Snowdrift Super Petunias planted. 1, 2. And for repetition, to connect with the other side where the snowdrift is, and they should mound as well. And kind of be a color echo to the white bay window. Over yonder, the Japanese viburnum has so many buds. It's going to be so beautiful when it blooms. I'm so excited. And there is an incredible. Over in the north garden, headed back to the west garden, here is the New Dawn. Some of the leaves are light, but I found in my garden that early in the season, some of my leaves tend to be light, but they darken up as time goes on, so I'm not too worried about it. Also in the north garden, I have another New Dawn rose, a plant stand my mother gave me, which I just adore, and I put Autumn Joy sedum on top. Down below is an Alexander the Great Brunera, also known as Brunera. Heading into the west garden, which is the back garden, I have these arborvitae, conical arborvitae headed back, as well as those golden globe arborvitae in between. Here is an iceberg rose. There's August moon hosta, paniculata phlox, as well as autumn joy sedum. In front here, I have a container with lamium, as well as silverberry super petunia, which should overflow. Here is tiara petunia, there's 2, as well as a calibrachoa. I think the name is Blue Moon Punch, but I'm not sure. And diamond frost euphorbia. So that should all fill in, and there should be some overflow. Here is a little quick fire. Here's an Annabelle, a division I put in not too long ago for repetition, an August moon hosta, and a Della Reese I planted not that long ago. A Della Reese rose. There's the picture. Here is a clematis or clematis, and I believe it's called Ville de Lyon, and it should be a fuchsia. Down below, this container is planted up the same as the other container. Here is another New Dawn Rose in the Rose Hall of Fame, and rightfully so. And another August Moon Hosta. Little Quickfire, once again. And an Annabelle, and another Autumn Joy Sedum. Repetition is so important in the garden. Provides a sense of order. So repetition here and there really helps. To the left, here are the Endless Summers. We still have a way to go as far as leafing out. Here are some daffodils. I think those are the Salome. The tulips are still looking pretty good behind. I believe those are Darwin. A sublime smooth hydrangea. There's that hosta I planted not too long ago. Gives great contrast with those white edges as far as the leaf structure. And the bright white color contrasts with the green of the, what is that? That's a limelight prime, and the green leaves that the little lime will have. How exciting. I have some peonies. That one already has some bloom heads, or some buds rather, and that one does not flop. I absolutely adore it. I don't know the name. And of course I have some other peonies in this bed. Over across here, there's another peony, and the oldest Quickfire in my garden. Back down yonder, there's a climbing rose back there. No, not a climbing rose, a climbing hydrangea I planted where you see those brown stakes. And hopefully it will go up the brick. Headed toward the back. In this container, it complements the other two containers, but it's not an exact match. It has a hosta in there that was in the container all winter and came back. I removed the other ones. And it has 2 calibrachoas and 1 tiara. So it's not an exact match with the other ones, but there is repetition, so they complement. Heading back this way, some of my tulips still look okay. They're hanging in there. There's the Quickfire, little Quickfire. Some penstemon, that burgundy, which with all this green, the burgundy cuts the green and adds depth. Little lime punch. And the New Dawn Rose, another one. And I attached it going around by that mirror that I put up years ago. And I just love the way that green softens the corner of the garage, those leaves. Here is a iceberg rose that I hope I can get to climb up this post. So exciting. Continuing on, more tulips. And I have hostas back here. This is a bobo. More peonies in this flower bed. More penstemon, of course, to add variety. Purple Sensation Allium. That's a firelight. Here's a firelight tidbit and a Gatsby pink oak leaf hydrangea. Gorgeous. Heading back to the hidden garden, I've dotted some top hat begonias back here, which should get pretty big. There's a bleeding heart. I have some Sum and Substance back here, which are emerging, and some other hosta. Back in the hidden garden, right at the as you enter the hidden garden, or you would enter, I have a nice hyssop on either side, which should get tall and bushy and create kind of like an entryway as you head back. There's an Annabelle back here, a Quickfire Fab, which didn't bloom last year because it's gotten so shady. We'll see this year. Another Sum and Substance hosta, and another Gatsby pink oak leaf hydrangea. Here's a limelight. And I have dotted back here some big green and white leaf begonias. So exciting. And these like sun or shade. So they should do pretty good back here since they're happy in sun or shade. The pink ones, top hat begonias, like sun to part shade. And so this area is a bit sunnier, so I put them over here. Here are two Golden Globe arborvitae, which are on the way back to the hidden garden. Some tulips, which are waning. And I planted Beacon and Patience here, as well as over here. Repetition, and they should get huge and mound. There's two Bobos back here, two Quick Fires back here, and in the middle, that is a Firelight. I have some Pistamon back here as well for contrast, and also the Golden Globes. That chartreuse helps to cut the green in the yard and add some contrast and interest. Here are more tulips. Give you a scan, relative position. Those are boxwoods that are going across there, new gen boxwoods. Here are some more tulips, looking lovely. And there are those quick fire fabs, 1, 2, and 3 back there. Planted those not that long ago. On the back deck, in this container, I have Bordeaux, Amethyst Verbena, Snowdrift Super Petunia. So that's what's in that container. That should fill in and overflow. This is a wave petunia. I believe it's an easy wave. And it wasn't a hanging basket, but I took it out, planted it in this container, and I try to deadhead it regularly. I think wave petunias do better when you deadhead them. And I try to get not just the bloom, but the stem. That's the goal. In this container, I have Lamium that I dug either out of my yard or my mother's yard, and Silverberry Super Petunia, which should overflow. Coming this way, this container complements the other, but they're not the exact same. It has Bordeaux Petunia, or Super Petunia, I believe, Diamond Frost Euphorbia, and Snowdrift. So there's some repetition with the other container. And once again, Lamium and Silverberry Super Petunia. Some spruce. I think I got those for about $2.50 each, around that amount, on sale last year. So exciting. And here's some hosta that come back every year in this container. Over here, I have in this deck rail container some, I think they're called penny whites. They're either violas or violets or pansies, I'm not sure. There's a purple and white verbena and Snowdrift Super Petunia. And that Snowdrift Super Petunia and that verbena should get so huge and overflow where I'll probably have to remove the other flowers. I'll see. Down below, here are some pansies and my winter sowing. Okay, that one needs to be opened. That's lettuce. There's anise, or no, not anise, that's alyssum, Shasta daisies, and this one definitely needs to be open. I think this one is kale. And there are foxgloves. Here's some coleus I grew from seed in my home and brought out here. So exciting. I still have more to do. Here's some other plants that need to go somewhere. In this container on the deck, I added a big green and white leaf begonia, which should get huge and gorgeous. I had that last year. Just love it. And of course, there's my autumn joy sedum. And hopefully I'll get hummingbirds this year, but if I don't, there's one. It's not real, but oh well. Heading down the back steps. Some of my daffodils still look good. There's some purple sensation allium that will be blooming soon. Autumn joy sedum. Some tulips, they're waning, but they're still lovely. And there are those two Annabelles I put in the end of last year. So exciting. Over this way, by those fence extensions I built and that table I built years ago, and the faux shed I built years ago, the fence extensions I built last year. Over here, I have my sublime smooth hydrangeas, arborescens. And I put some cardboard in between and behind and cover with compost because I want an area for the eye to rest between those sublimes and the limelights behind. And that is a Gatsby Star Oak Leaf Hydrangea. Look at those leaves. Exquisite. Over on this table, I have some Beacon Impatiens I put inside of these containers, which should get huge and gorgeous. I love Beacon Impatiens. They're fabulous. Fab-boo. Here's that tree, bush, or weed I cut down. I'm trying to, I took off the bottom growth, but more has come back, and I left this. This is why the top is longer, because I actually left it. So I'm thinking about just encouraging the top growth and maybe making like a topiary shape. I'll see. Over in the faux shed, there are those August moon hostas starting to emerge. Here's a little container I potted up with lamium, a hosta I got on sale, and a potato vine. There are those yellow canna I grew from seed in my home, and I put one of the roses, the Queen Elizabeth roses, in here. This is the south side of my house. There's the picture. I thought it'd be a nice surprise if someone comes in and they see a rose back there unexpectedly. Surprises in the garden are nice. Across from that table over by the screen I built last year, I put these pansies in down here. And I'm trying to get kind of like a blue theme over here. Now, it's not going to all be bluish purple, but there'll be a bit of it with these pansies. And then I have these, those are crocus roses, David Austin. Then I have these ageratum I grew from seed in my home. I planted out here. And they are going to be like a bluish purple. You can kind of see them opening now. How exciting. And here are some Purple Sensation allium I planted back there not too long ago. And there are those bloomstrucks. Here's a firelight hydrangea. That's a Sophie Rose, David Austin. And I planted this rose here on the corner of the deck to soften the, well, it softens the edge, and it's a light pink. There's more to do, but that's one of the things that makes gardening exciting. There's something that you can always find to do in the garden. Thanks for watching, and consider subscribing.